This podcast brought to you by Digital Diamond Entertainment.
All right, Vex, run the intro.
So when am I getting paid for this?
Kind of like a podcast, sort of, but not really. We're podcast-ish.
What's this ish? What do you mean ish? Yeah.
Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Woo-wee! Welcome back to the Podcast-ish podcast, where every week we give you the facts, fiction, and twisted opinions on aspects of human behavior. We believe words are important, and the facts don't give a fuck about your feelings. So sit back and strap in, because this one, we're going to get kicked off the internet for. This is the Grievance Studies Hoax. Now, before we get into anything, let's get our sponsors out the way.
Yeah. Today's episode of the Podcast-ish podcast is brought to you by Lex. That's Lex on 17th Avenue Southwest and Lex in Chinook Mall. Woo. For all you hype beasts, you standouts, you shoe junkies, anybody you like that cool shit. Stickers, they got stickers too. You like Supreme, you like Yeezys, you like Jordans, you like that throwback shit, all that good shit. Good cost prices, good prices that cost. I got some shit. Don't forget the 26th over, that exclusive line that not everybody has.
That shit's dope.
Yo. That's our sponsor.
Yeah.
Lex. Oh, check Lex Ave 17th on Instagram. The whole.
That's right.
What do you call that shit? Inventory.
The whole shit. King. Go to King of Calgary too. He shows a little shit on there too.
We're just plugging the sponsor.
Okay.
A thing on the street, they call it the whole shit.
It's true.
The whole shit. The whole shit in Shaboodle.
I'm your host, Parnel Ramlo, alongside the one and only John Vex, the illustrious Will Hayes, and special guest in the building tonight, the man that's been in Bali for a year and a half, Mr. Mikey Mike of Mike Check Entertainment. How you doing, fellas?
Yo.
Chillin', man.
He's been in Bali serving wood.
Have you guys heard of this, the Grievance Studies hoax? I know I sent it to you guys a little bit. You guys do your Googles?
I heard about it a couple months ago, and I was not surprised, which is unfortunate.
Right.
I wasn't surprised, given the way that things have been going on this rock we call Earth. But anyway, I take it you have a little.
I got a little blurb.
Something to educate the listeners before we get into it.
I just want to remind Mike that we are doing a podcast, and shaking his head no doesn't come across.
I thought it was awesome.
I'm looking it up.
I thought it was awesome that they did it. I love, and the reason why they did it was awesome too.
Well, yeah, trolling the establishment.
Right. Well, they weren't even trolling the establishment. They're letting the establishment know that it's flawed.
Right.
It wasn't even trolling.
Let's let these listeners know exactly what we're talking about, in case you haven't heard about it. It's a very nuanced topic. The Grievance Studies affair, Grievance Studies hoax. Also referred to as the Sokal Squared scandal, in reference to the 1996 hoax. This was an attempt by a team of 3 authors, James, Lindsay, Pete Boghossian, and Helen Pluckrose, to create bogus academic papers and submit them to academic journals in the areas of cultural, race, gender, fat, and sexual studies. The authors' intent was to expose problems in grievance studies, a term they apply to the subcategory of these academic areas in which poor science is undermining the real and important work being done elsewhere. The hoax began in 2017 and continued in 2018, when it was halted by one of the papers caught in the attention of journalists, who quickly found its purported author, Mrs. Helen Wilson, to be non-existent. This led to more media attention as the hoax was more broadly exposed by news outlets. By the time of the reveal, 4 of their 20 papers had been published. I think there's actually 7 now. 7 had been accepted. 3 had been accepted, not yet published. 6 had been rejected, and 7 were still under review. And one of the published papers had won a special recognition. We're going to get into the actual papers here. This shit is a little nuts. If you know anything about journals and publishing papers, you know that to get tenure at any kind of university and kind of higher education, you have within 10 years, 12 years, you'll write maybe 1 or 2 papers to be submitted for review. And that's how the academic field works. If you can get tenure from that, it's supposed to be made for open thinking, open studies, and be able to teach what we believe to be the truth. Mm-hmm. Now, on May 19th, 2017, a pay-to-publish journal. Actually, you know what? I'll read the sequence of events. This is coming straight from Wikipedia. I'll read the sequence of events off Wikipedia and just a little bit of...
Wikipedia is telling us about unauthorized publications.
Right. No, this has been verified. This actually is pretty accurate compared to everything I've read about.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
I know. It's hilarious.
I know Wikipedia has factual shit in there. It's just like it's reverse irony and going forward.
Is it reverse irony or just irony?
It's like double negatives.
Mm-hmm.
It's like triple negatives?
Or double positives. I'll get into that later.
Is that like... Never mind. On May 19th, 2017, pay-to-publish journal Congent Social Sciences published the conception. This is in quotes. The conceptual penis as a social construct.
What do you mean by pay to publish journal? Is this the journal you give them money and they'll publish your paper?
No. So what it is you have to you submit your paper, but you have to pay to submit the paper, and it gets peer reviewed from there. So it's not pay to publish; it's pay for review. And then the review process is pretty much you submit your paper for review. If it's accepted, if it gets a head nod by the editor, it gets sent back to you with a bunch of revisions. From there, you make the revisions, send it back, and then it gets reviewed again. Now we're talking about a span of 7, 8, 9 months.
And it's all flawed.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to be, but this is
nothing. Dude, that's why it's a flaw.
No, I get that, but
If it
it
wasn't supposed to be flawed, it'd be called perfection.
Right.
That's what a flaw is.
Okay.
Something that's not supposed to be there.
Thank you.
An anomaly.
You done?
An anomaly.
Anonymity.
Double negative.
Anyways, the conceptual penis as a social construct, which argued that penises are not male and are better analyzed as social constructs. The same day, James Lindsay and Pete Boghossian.
You want to say that one more time?
Yeah, I do.
That's a double negative.
This paper argued that penises are not male and are better analyzed as social constructs. So on the same day, James Lindsay and Pete Boghossian revealed it to be a hoax aimed at disregarding gender studies, although Congent Social Sciences is not exclusively a gender studies journal. While the journal did conduct a post-mortem, both authors concluded the impact of the hoax was very limited and much criticism of it was legitimate. The authors claim to have started their second attempt on August 16, 2017, with Helen Pluckrose joining the team in September. The new methodology called for a submission of multiple papers. Each paper would be submitted to higher-ranked journals. If it were rejected, feedback from the peer review process was used to revise the paper before it was submitted to a lower-ranked journal. This process was repeated until the paper was accepted, or the 3 authors gave up. The authorship of each paper was...
whichever comes first.
Yeah, whichever comes first. So the authorship of each paper was either fictional, such as Helen Wilson, which we spoke about, of Portland Ungendering Research Initiative. It's fucking hilarious. Portland Ungendering Research Initiative. Or real people willing to lend their names, such as Dr. Richard Baldwin, Professor Emeritus of History at Gulf Coast State College. Over the course of the project, 20 papers were submitted and 48 new submissions of those papers were made. The first acceptance, Human Reactions to Rape Culture and Queer Performativity at the Dog Park, was achieved 5 months. After the project started.
No, I don't understand. You got to say that one more time.
Well, here's the thing, Will. The whole point of a title like that is so that it is not understable.
So, say the title one more time.
Here's the title. It's word salad to sound fancy.
So, queer performability?
Yeah, so the full title of this paper is Human Reactions to Rape Culture and Queer Performativity at the Dog Park. Okay, so was achieved 5 months after the project started. During the initial peer review for its second and ultimately successful attempt at publication in Gender, Place, and Culture, what the hoaxers called the Dog Park paper was praised as incredibly innovative, rich in analysis, and extremely well written and organized by the first reviewer. Similar respectful feedback was given for others accepted. So that's just a sample.
Stupid.
A sample. Now, just in case,
it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, we have
brilliant.
It's brilliant. Yeah,
no, it's brilliant, but the fact that it was accepted is stupid.
Right.
Exactly.
So just in case our listeners didn't quite catch that, 'cause I know it's a little difficult even for me when I go back and listen to things. The point of this paper was to submit something that was ultimately wrong. They knew it was wrong. The study was not done. This is pretty much what they have written out of their minds.
Yeah, they came up with.
They just pretty much came up with it out of thin air. And this paper was praised. It received special acknowledgement. This was one of the first ones to be praised, and people were loving it. The reviewers were loving it. Now the point of this paper was, they said they went to the dog park and they inspected almost 10,000 dogs' genitals, right, to see whether they're. It's fucked up. It's weird.
Awesome.
They were saying, I know it's hard to get through this shit. They said
I like their style.
They were. I love how we can't even get through without laughing.
That shit is awesome.
They said they were studying what the human masters of these dogs were doing when, let's say, a male dog was humping another male dog. They said the owners would ultimately get the dogs off if it was male on male. However, if it was a male dog on a female, they would be like, yeah, go get him. Causing them to state that there is a disconnect between, or there's a connect between male dogs and male men, male humans, saying that men should
Not
be
male men.
Male men, yes.
Male men.
Saying
There
that-
is a disconnect.
Right.
There.
There's a
Saying
connection
that-
between Karl Malone
It's Jaws.
and his dog.
Right. Saying that male humans should be trained the same way male dogs are, but it is unethical to have males walk around with shock collars on our necks. So we have to find a different way to train our men in society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Where
that's-
do you want to start? Where do you want to
Okay,
start
but
with that?
The way you explained it is not how it's written. So they wrote it in such a ridiculous way and used jargon that doesn't exist. Like they just threw a bunch of shit in there to make it look like it was an actual paper.
Here's the thing: is that the jargon in that community does exist, and they wrote it in such a way to show the bias on the reviewers.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote it in a way to
So that one would be like exposing feminist bias.
right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so what it almost sounds like to me is that they fucking pulled the Kansas City Shuffle.
That's exactly what it is.
Misdirected them.
Slevin was all over the place.
Yeah, misdirected him with some shit with the purpose of being like pushing a feminist agenda to kind of like
And hopefully one of them gets on national TV like CNN and quotes the and a study from the.
It was all over the place.
it's actually funny because it's like you're actually doing some good, kind of pushing for equal rights, but you're going about it with in a fucking stupid way.
Yeah.
No, it's not even like the people that would use this is like this is like fuel. This is not even like pushing for equal rights. This is equal rights. This is like feminist superiority or feminist supremacists.
Yeah.
They use like the most extreme shit. And this men should be trained like dogs, but it's like, well, if there's a study done on it.
Well, it's almost funny because it like points out how stupid people are.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it points out how stupid people are, but then also goes, well, and here's the moral of the story.
Right. And the weirdest thing about this whole thing is they wrote 22 papers. 7 papers were accepted. 7 papers were still in play when they had to call it to a halt.
Mm-hmm.
1 is still under first review at its current journal.
Wow.
6 were retired as fatally flawed or beyond repair. There's been 4 invitations to peer review other papers as a result of their own exemplary scholarship. 1 paper, the one about rape culture and dog parts, gained special recognition for excellence from its journal, Gender, Place, and Culture. Special recognition. A highly ranked journal that leads the field of feminist geography, whatever the fuck that means. The journal honored it as one of the 12 leading pieces in feminist geography as part of the journal's 25th anniversary celebration. They were going to honor this thing in one of the special anniversary celebration editions.
Feminist geography.
Yeah.
How does that differ from geography? But this is what I'm saying though, right? Like, to me, the whole point is this.
There's a bunch of Sephoras.
Oh my. And a sensor here and there.
Victoria's Secret.
And 15 shoe stores. Anyway, whatever. No, this is my whole thing. And this is to me, this gets to the root of the problem with Western society right now. We have become so detached from objective reality that we will swallow anything. Right? And I feel it's fair to restate that quote from Voltaire.
Okay, here we go.
But it's true, right? Like, in a nutshell, anyone who can make you believe the absurd can actually get you to do ridiculous things, right? Let me see. What is it? Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities, right?
It's true.
So the point of the matter is objective reality. What's happening right now, and you see it in the news everywhere, and you see it on media everywhere, is that they will tell you, "Hey, look outside." You know, when the minute hand and the hour hand are pointing straight up, that means it's 10 o'clock. Right, and objectively know that's 12 o'clock.
Right.
But they will say, no, well, look outside, like it's actually 10 o'clock.
Yeah. How do we feel about the ethics towards what they were doing?
Oh, I agree with the ethics towards what they were doing, right? Because here's the problem: confronting them straight on wouldn't get anywhere. Right,
and in fact, it's shown that you couldn't get anywhere by going head on against.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because these people have too much power. Right now,
and by these people, you mean the reviewers and
the
journals.
reviewers and the people who publish these articles and whatever, right? So when you have that type of power, when you have a certain type of person in that type of power, they will start pushing an agenda. That's the scary part of it. The scary part is you have these people in these positions of power now not trying to do things objectively. They're doing things with a bias, right? And they're not telling you they have the bias. That's the even scarier part, right? If it was a Bible-beating Baptist in one of these positions, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he wrote a paper that was extremely conservative or put forth a paper that was extremely conservative, right? But that being said, he wouldn't be hiding what his agenda is, right? Whereas these guys are portraying themselves as completely objective, and then obviously they're rabid fourth-wave feminists,
right?
Or what have you?
The one example with the feminists,
yeah,
like a lot of stuff was put past a lot of different people. I think this shows a lot of different things, and this is why I think. What was your question? What do you think about the ethics?
The ethics of how they. I mean, they're pretty dubious ethics, right?
I wouldn't. I'd just say.
No, I don't think they're dubious at all.
No, I'd say that the ethics or their. I wouldn't even say their ethics because that's too broad of a statement. I'd say their points for doing this. Yeah, exactly. Their tactics for doing this is to show a multitude of different things. Not just that some people have an agenda. That you can't always trust what has been put out by the establishment.
Oh, absolutely.
B, not everybody reads everything that's submitted. Some of this shit probably went through and they were just like, fuck, this is the 500th paper. And they maybe skip like every second. Maybe they have a thing where it's like, let's just skip every second page. And if it's not too fucked up, we'll just send some revisions.
And that's something great to bring to light, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think so that's why they did this. A lot of different things. A lot of things of like people are trying to push an agenda. I'm pretty sure they probably submitted a paper, and it's probably one of the papers that didn't get submitted. See what's the most ridiculous thing with no agenda that we can submit and see if we can get it past them. Right. And like, because a lot of them, would they say catastrophically failed or whatever their terminology is?
There was sick
catastrophically flawed.
Catastrophically
fatally flawed.
Fatally flawed. Yeah, and that's
only 6. That's only 6 out of 22, right?
Yeah, so 6 out of 22, but at least 6 were caught. Like this could have been some shit that was published, and next thing you know, it's like, there's one in there that says the dick's not male.
Right.
The dick is a dick. The male has a dick, and some males are dicks. But
right,
the dick is not. So that's the whole thing. So I think it's like when it's like when you're trying to convince your girl or your kid of something, and you just give them something so ridiculous that what you actually want them to do doesn't seem as outlandish.
There's actually a term for that. The term for that is the Hegelian dialectic.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there's actually a term for that, the Hegelian dialectic, where you want a certain outcome to occur. So in order to have that outcome occur, you suggest something way more extreme than that, right?
Oh, it's like bargaining with my kid.
Exactly, right? So you suggest something way more extreme so that to compromise the person who you're trying to compromise with or accomplish this certain outcome with.
They're comparing it to the fucked up.
Yeah, so they will go, well, let's compromise and do this instead.
Yeah,
right.
That's originally what you wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I'm gonna read the words of Pete Boghossian, the main professor writing this about, and this is off of Arrow magazine, AREO, AreoMagazine.com. Areola, no, yeah, AreolaMagazine.com, and he pretty much put up a blog post, or I guess a written reason as to what they did, why they did it. This is called Part 3. Why did we do this? Bear with me for a few minutes, gentlemen. I'm just going to read this off because I think it's actually pretty pertinent to go through. Why did we do this? Because we're racist, sexist, bigoted, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, transhysterical, anthropocentric, problematic, privileged, bullying, far right-wing, cis-hetero, straight white males, and one white female who is demonstrating her initialized misogyny and overwhelming need for male approval.
I think it's internalized misogyny.
Yes, what I said. Internalized misogyny. That's what I said. Who wants to enable bigotry, preserve our privilege, and take the side of hate? No. None of those apply. Nevertheless, we'll be accused of it, and we have some insights into why. You want to hear the insights?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Want to hear them? Like to hear them? Here they go.
Too many not involved in academia, particularly those who are skeptical of its worth generally, it may seem like we're addressing yet another obscure academic squabble of little relevance to the real world. You're mistaken. The problem we've been studying is of the utmost relevance to the real world and everyone in it. Alternately, those who are positively positively inclined towards academia and ethically and or politically in support of social science and humanities research that focuses on social justice issues may think the work researchers are doing on these topics is important and generally sound. You'd be right that it's important, but that is not always sound. Some of the work being produced is positively horrifying and surreal, while exerting considerable influence on the field and beyond. You also might acknowledge that there are problems arising from the pressures of a publish or perish culture driven by broken university business models and taken advantage of by opportunistic publishing industry, but the skeptical that there are any serious integral epistemological or ethical issues at work. Hey, I did it.
Well done, Parnel.
Oh.
Hooked on phonics.
As liberals, we recognize that you might be resistant to acknowledging that our evidence points to an undeniable problem in academic research or on important issues relevant to social justice. The work done in these fields claim to continue the vital work of the civil rights movement, liberal feminism, and gay pride. It seeks to address oppression of women and racial and sexual minorities. Surely, you might therefore believe these bodies of literature must be essentially good and sound, even if you recognize some overreach and silliness. After having spent
Some overreach?
and silliness.
Oh, okay. Can you slow down just a little bit for the slow people like me, please?
Okay.
Just a little, not like a whole lot, but just a little bit.
After having...
Chuck this thing through the crack of your ass.
Okay, we'll get a little bit more here. After having spent a year immersed and becoming recognized experts within these fields, in addition to witnessing the divisive and destructive effects when activists and social media mobs put it to use, we can now state with confidence that it is neither essentially good nor sound. Further, these fields of study do not continue the important and noble liberal work of civil rights movements. They corrupt it while trading upon their good names to keep pushing a kind of social snake oil onto a public that keeps getting sicker. For us to know anything about injustice in society and be able to show it to those who are unaware or in denial of it, scholarship into it must be rigorous. Currently, it is not. And this enables it and social justice issues within it to be dismissed. This is a serious problem of considerable concern, and we must address it.
So basically,
Agreed.
what they did is, I was like half wrong. So what they actually did was pinpoint on specific fields that said they were for a specific social justice thing.
Absolutely.
But they pinpointed the ones that have gone over the fucking deep end
Absolutely.
with what they've been publishing to the public,
Right.
And then gave them the most ridiculous shit to see if they would followed so much. It was so ridiculous, but followed their agendas to so extreme to see if they go after it.
Right.
Exactly.
To see how much credibility that they're actually putting out.
That's exactly what it. So there's actually a field called Grievance Studies, and everything they published was to the Grievance Studies, right? And that's, like I said, it's all civil
rights,
all
the extra stuff.
Oh yeah, feminism, all that fun
if you're
stuff,
not
right?
straight white male, and you
right, it's everything against straight white males.
Not against straight white males, but like
Absolutely.
everything that falls outside of that category.
Yes. Yeah, everything that falls outside of being straight white heterosexual male is kind of where
Straight white heterosexual male.
That's called a redundancy.
Well, you doesn't have polio. Like,
That's like
there's
saying-
heterosexual males that have polio.
Oh,
And they're not. They lean.
that's kind of like
I hate all you
like
guys.
saying that's kind of like saying I did do that.
I did do that.
I might could have.
What did you not do?
So what do you guys think of how they approached this? Do you think there was any way this could have been done another way?
No.
Yep.
This is the podcast. Thanks,
Well, I
guys.
think honestly, in all honesty, I think they tried. I think there were people that tried, and there were a lot of things, and these people obviously kind of saw the flaw in actual studies that have been done.
Yeah, how
And
the
we're like-
methodology. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the whole process was a study in itself.
Yeah.
To see if they could get people to believe, or if they can get falsities through the whole system, right?
Yeah, but even
And they did.
even on the flip side of that, I remember reading about 2 years ago where there were instances of people doing studies on the effects of gender dysphoria, right? And the conclusions that they came to were shot down, and not only shot down, these people were bullied out of their out of their profession.
Oh, look at Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson is a fantastic
And
example.
now they fucked up with him because he is a multimillionaire international rock star.
Yeah,
he's a
exactly. He's a conservative guru,
right.
And it's that kind of thing that, coupled with this Grievance study, I don't even want to say hoax because I'd rather call that an exposure, right? That shows.
Great word. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that shows what the agenda actually is. You just need to put the pieces of the puzzle together, right? There's a clear agenda that they're trying to push upon people, and that clear agenda is to model up what people perceive as reality and what actual objective reality is.
Right. We can take conservative and liberal completely out of this conversation and just have a moral discussion about this.
Yeah.
Right. There's moralities and there's certain humanities you have to get through, and you should stand to strive towards, instead of using lying, stealing, cheating to get your point across when it makes no sense for that point to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing is this, right? One thing I always look for in any one of these studies is, when you read the paper, look for weasel words and word salad, right? So I'll give you an example of a weasel word or even a weasel phrase, right? I was looking at CNN the other day, Mr. Don Lemon, right? And Don Lemon started his commentary by saying everyone knows Donald Trump is a racist, right? But he used zero facts to back that statement up, right? Weasel phrases. When you start with a weasel phrase like that without any substantial evidence to back that up, then you're trying to influence and trying to push an agenda.
Right. We talk about this. We talk about fake news all the time on this podcast, because we know we can't trust. We pretty much can't trust either side to 100% severity. Right.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Again, it's very easy to discern what objective reality is. Right. When objective reality is countered with some type of nonsense, like you would read in some of these papers, then your spidey sense has to go off. Right. You need to be at least semi-intelligent.
That's the problem.
Right. So, and then the other thing is that word salad thing. Right. Like, I can't even remember what the title of that article about.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Like, it's ridiculous. Right. It's like the emperor who had no clothes. The emperor's new clothes.
Human reactions to rape culture and queer performativity at urban dog parks in Portland.
What the hell does that mean? Right? Like, so.
I like it.
Are you guys familiar with the emperor has no clothes, or the emperor who
exactly.
the emperor's new clothes? Right?
Yeah.
All the hoity-toity and well-to-do were like, oh yeah, we love his new clothes, and it took one simple little child to go, he's naked.
He's naked.
Right? There's a reason for these fairy tales and fables in our childhood, so that we can have a solid moral foundation to go, wait, no, you're selling me bullshit.
Right.
Right? So we cannot forget those. Right? The other thing is, and this, I started thinking about this as you were reading through this article, Parnel. I remember a few years ago when I was back in college, having a discussion with a classmate about history, right? And so we're sitting in the cafeteria, we're just having this discussion, and one of the waiters who was waiting on us had come around and he kind of caught a bit of the discussion. So the guy I was talking to was of the opinion that the victors determine what we believe about history, right? And I completely disagree with him, right? So, and that was confirmed for me when this waiter who was serving us came around, and he was like, yeah, I couldn't help but overhear what he was saying. This guy, he was a part-time waiter, and he went to university full-time as a history student, right? And he goes, yeah, you're completely wrong about the victors writing the history, right? What we believe about history is taken from as many sources as possible. The victors, the losers, people who just observed, etc., etc. Anything that corroborates itself, if you have 15 different accounts that corroborate themselves from 15 disparate sources, then there's only one way to think of it, is that this is accurate.
Right.
Right? So, and history is not...
How so? I don't understand.
Yeah, because you think
history where?
Any history
in general,
any
history.
Okay.
Any history.
You know,
right?
through what was it? 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, we were taught in school that the residential school program was a benefit. We were taught that in school, in history. Do you think that was written by corroborating evidence?
Well, let me ask you a question. What I mean by history is so and so happened. This happened, that happened, that happened.
That's not
Right?
history. That's a recollection of events. When someone
No,
says
exactly.
when someone
exactly.
says
That is history.
No, okay, history and a recollection of events that you can recollect or go back to people that have a recollection of it is different. History. When someone says a phrase that history is written by the victors, they're not talking about people who remember what actually happened. They're talking about the generations upon generations that are taught that are told
That
what
manipulated.
happened.
I disagree with you, and
But
that's not the
You
point.
look
And
at
then
history, that's the point of that phrase. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's if everybody, which they don't, and it's very grandiose to believe that everybody can or has the means to go through and pinpoint every single thing that they're taught, right? People trust the system, and that's one of the points of this. People
and I
trust the
understand what you're
system.
saying. I understand
so you
what you're
don't
saying.
always have objective reality in your face, because you think what you're looking at is objective reality.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody hits somebody that's in the field to review these with the heterosexual male penis thing with the dog park with ambrosia and ambiguity.
I really just want to keep reading that one.
You're gonna read that and read through the whole thing and be like, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
But if you are someone who just likes to study stuff, or if you're taking your first semester in college, or if you're trying to better yourself and you're doing some Sylvan online college, and this is one of the papers that it references, you don't have objective reality in your face because this is objective reality to you. And that's why they say history is written by the victors, because the objective reality is what is being taught to you, which is history, which is in the books, which is in the readings, and which is in the 15 things that you corroborate what you're told. And that was written, whatever. That's
Coagulate.
the dictionary is different from fucking history books.
I think.
But,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I think the quote should is actually the original quote is the history books are written by the victors.
Something like yeah.
But
So when people say that, that's what they
right.
mean. They don't mean like.
It's kind of like the saying, "It's always the last place you look," but the correct saying is, "Oh, it's always the last place you think to look." Kinda like that. It's a saying that just kind of got truncated and just slapped in with whatever.
And everything you lose is always in the last place. You always find it in the last place you look,
Because it's the last place you look, you just fucking found
You're
it.
done looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
So
I don't think
that
was the point of what you were trying to say, but it was good to get to the bottom
It's not the
of
point
that.
of what I was trying to say at all. But I understand where you're coming from. My whole point is this. What I was trying to get at and ultimately get to is, when reading any study like this, you need to take into account as many sources as possible.
All right.
Right? So the way that historical documentation is done, you should actually have the same diligence if there's something you're not sure about. Right?
But if you're being taught something,
who cares what you're being taught? You're not shackled to the system in a way where you
but
can only learn what you're being taught.
You are when you're
No,
in
you're not.
school.
Well,
when
that's
you're
the-
in
wait,
school,
no,
especially
not at
nowadays.
all.
Yes,
Not at all. Not
yes,
at all.
you are.
I'm
You
out
get-
of school and I'm learning more than I've learned in school.
Okay, so
Right,
when
so
you're
that's
saying-
my
when you're-
point.
But that's okay. But out of school, you're learning more than you are in school. But in school, especially when you didn't have the resources that we have now, you are trusting what's being given to you.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
going to a place, if you're unsure, you're going to a place, you're hollering at your boy Dewey, hitting his system to pull resources from a place that provides it, that's provided in the place that you're trusting that you're not sure of.
Right.
So you have these things now, so it's not as easy as you have to have objectional reality in your face, because you don't know what's objectional reality. If you're not, it's hard not to be sure about something when you're reading a paper that you think you should be sure of. So it's not saying giving you a bunch of stuff and maybe you're not sure in a word, get the word. You're not sure of this, But when you're reading these papers as a regular individual, not as someone who's supposed to review them, these papers are what are making you sure.
Right.
You're probably reading this paper because something that you read before that you weren't sure of, and you're referencing this paper.
That is a great point. Let me just interject here, guys, because I think what the main point to this whole conversation is that these papers like these are being submitted and accepted and published.
Yeah.
And people that are submitting these papers and getting published are getting tenure and now are free to teach whatever they wish to whoever they wish, whoever enrolls in their class, right? So
Right.
I think that's what we need to get to here, right? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous names like Human Reactions to Rape Culture and Queer Performativity at Urban Dog Parks in Portland, Oregon, or Who Are They to Judge? Overcoming Anthropometry and Framework of Fat Bodybuilding.
Right.
Going
So-
in through the back door, challenging challenging straight male homohysteria and transphobia through receptive penetrative sex toy use. It's shit like this that gets accepted. Those have been published papers that are completely false, right?
Let's look at these shit like this has been accepted, and then we look at this, be like, it's fucking stupid. Like even a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
It's papers like,
but it's subjectively stupid to us, so it's not stupid to whoever's who these people
that's
accept.
not what I'm saying.
No, I get that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but even the people there's someone who's probably reading this thinks it's stupid. They had to come out and say it was a hoax because people are reading this and saying this looks stupid. This cannot be what they're giving me. But then you got to look at papers that may have been published, like the understudy of photosynthesis and how it actually relates to the production of plants, and it may be full of false shit. It doesn't have a fucked up name.
Yeah.
And the fucking shit in it may not be fucked up. It may even be plagiarized and buffed up from someone.
Yep.
So this may have exposed something, but then we got to understand this is not obvious. It's like something that's obvious.
Yeah.
Like you read the title and it's obvious. There's so much subtle and non-obvious shit in there that probably slipped through the cracks that these motherfuckers have tenure.
Right.
I can't remember where it was. I think I was just looking at this maybe a year ago. A professor at maybe Duke or one of those universities got called out because a lot of his papers were fabrications. And they had to go back to a lot of shit and be like, yo, we're fucked. We just... Whoever graduated from between 1992 and 2008, you need to come back and do this over again or something like that.
Right.
Like, can you recall a student?
Right.
Like you can a GMC or something?
Right. So I just want to read off the titles of the papers that have been accepted and published, and the papers that have been accepted but not published yet.
Wait, as you read them off, we have to vote whether it sounds legit or not.
Right.
Whether we would believe it.
Right. I'll read all 20. I'll read the names of all 20.
Okay, read them off one at a time, and then we'll take a vote as to whether we believe it or not.
Yeah, the first one's obviously spoken about human reactions to rape culture and queer performativity at urban dog parks in Portland, Oregon.
No.
It shouldn't have been accepted, but it was.
Sounds like an Amy Schumer movie.
Right? Who are they to judge? Overcoming anthropometry and a framework for fat bodybuilding.
That sounds legit.
It does.
It sounds kind of legit to me.
That doesn't sound legit to me.
Right.
Well, like,
fat bodybuilding is retarded.
All it takes is a regular person to not understand what
I don't know what
anthropometry.
Anthropometry means.
All it takes is that one person to not understand anthropometry, and it's a big word, too big of a word for them to understand. And then they go,
that
sounds cool.
It sounds like a self-help book. Like, hey, I'm fat, I could work out. Who are you to judge?
Right. Number 3.
Anthropomorphize.
Number 3, and this one is the one that I went, what the fuck? And I'm right after this. Going in through the back door, challenging straight male homohysteria and transphobia through receptive, penetrative sex toy use.
Legit.
What they're saying in that one.
This sounds like a study. No, for real.
That sounds legit.
This sounds like a study a doctor would do. They had a study about different foods and how it affected a female's orgasm. So you don't think a crazy doctor in the back can be like, let's see if we could combat homophobia with a little anal rape.
With a little
you know what I'm
pegging,
saying?
right?
Like it sounds like something like reading through
why,
it, but
they don't even need a study for that. Just spend some time in jail.
It's crazy. So number 4, an ethnography of restaurant masculinity. Themes of objectification. Yes, themes of objectification, sexual conquest, male control, and masculine toughness in a sexually objectifying restaurant.
Hey, these days with the words people make.
I can't even read this shit.
Yo, so do we have a list? Do we have a list of legitimate papers?
Yeah, I can give you. These titles are actually
the ones
written,
that got accepted.
These are actually written as a normal paper's titles would be written.
Yeah, but you see, exactly. So these aren't legitimate. These may have got accepted, but they're not legitimate titles. I want to hear what the legitimate ones that were ones that don't push the agenda. It's a legitimate one that got accepted, that tells the truth and goes out. Because if it has a fucked up title
it
too,
probably sounds like
they're all fucked up
have fucked up titles. We can't even sit here and say anything because then we're like, oh, these motherfuckers are looking at shit that they look at every day, and shit cannot throw you off if it sounds just like one that.
So here's why they sound so weird. I'm just going to give you a little list of effective titles in academic research papers. The following parameters can be used to help you formulate a suitable research paper title. Okay, the purpose of the research, the narrative tone of the paper, typically defined by the type of the research, the methods used, right?
That makes sense.
So the effective titles would be indicate accurately the subject and scope of the study.
We know the format of the title is supposed to be. I said I want to hear the titles. I want to know if the titles that were subjected are as...
Yeah, they're just as crazy. If that's what you're asking, yes, they sound just as fucked up. The ones that are actually...
Because people don't understand
I would like to hear them. Like, I want to prove a point to the listeners.
Find one.
Like, find a couple. Like, if they're just as fucked up, I take your word for it. You my mans, but still.
Like the transgender transmogrification of...
Right?
Megatron.
Right? Swinging dicks. The transgender demogrification of Tuesdays at the Apollo.
With the flux capacitor.
Right?
Subjected to Mighty Morphin.
If you swing a dick at 88 miles per hour, it will go back in time, and you can have surgery, have a sex change without surgery.
I agree.
What? Say that again, nigga. And I said it first.
40 minutes in.
40 minutes in, and I can't believe I said it first because that deserved that. What, nigga?
Well, I'm not saying that again.
Rewind.
Whatever it was.
All right, guys, kill some time. I'm still trying to find a...
I don't know what the fuck I said before, but my
I don't
whole
know
point
if
is
you'll
like
be able
this.
to find it. That's the whole problem, because to access a lot of those, you need to actually pay to see them.
Here's my whole thing is like this.
Right.
If the titles... I know the format of the titles, but if the titles of regular ones that are legitimate are just as convoluted as these ones, we can't say that. Well, just looking at the title, you should know it's bullshit. Some of these ones we might read some legitimate ones, be like, yo, this sounds like some bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
right. And I never said, I was always just like, these titles actually make sense to the people that are reviewing them, although they don't make sense to the common individual reading that are.
And concurred that from the title alone, it should have caused a red flag. And what I'm saying...
No, I didn't.
We all did. I will go to the tapes. The four of us concurred and agreed.
Well, yeah.
From this title...
Some of them.
That's what I was saying.
Yes, some of them. But at the same time, you have to look at the research, right?
Off, and then
we'll see if it's legitimate
if it's legitimate or not. Like, you should have had two lists and then read the two
of them off and be like, yo, and if we get fucked up, it's like, okay. Maybe we have to actually read the whole paper.
So some of them are as convoluted, some aren't.
Convoluted.
Yeah, so uncertainty and compensation, design and strategic inter-firm contracts. That was just the name of a paper. Accounting and economic consequence of CEO pay cuts. Innovation pathways to profitability. The role of marketing capitalists.
These ones aren't These aren't ones that were submitted to the grievance.
No.
This sounds like something that was.
These are regular ones that you asked for. These are the regular ones that's how they regularly sound.
No, that's not what I asked for.
Then what the fuck did you ask for? You asked for regular paper titles, right?
No.
I think specifically to the Grievance Council or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. You're not going to find them unless you pay for them. These are just published paper titles.
He said that.
But the thing is, it's like just
he said you're not going to find them if you pay unless you pay for them. I asked you if the ones submitted to the Grievance are as fucked up, and you're like, yes, they're just as fucked up.
Yes, they are just as fucked up.
With such conviction that I believe you've seen them before, and if you've seen them before, I'm pretty sure. Can bring them up. Just that's all I want to know.
What is your point to this?
My point is, we all concurred that the titles would have someone saying, "Yo, there's nothing true about this." I want to know if those illegitimate ones put back to the legitimate ones to the Grievance Council can be distinguished by their titles alone, or does it have to go into reading the thing? There's a reason why. And it's past agenda. Of course, agenda has a lot to do with it, but there's reasons why some of these were pushed through. And there's laziness, there's a bunch of different shit. We're doing exactly what these papers are trying to prove. We're pushing an agenda based off glance. We haven't read the papers. We see what they're doing, but we don't know what could have caused these to be in there. You understand what I'm saying?
But here's the thing: and I agree with you. The only flaw in that line of thinking, I think, is we're assuming that they didn't read the papers.
Right.
So I would err on the side of assuming they did. Right, because to me it seems to be very clear, given what they accepted and pushed through. It seems to be very clear that they are pushing an agenda.
Yeah, I'd like to see what's. For that one specific one, yeah, most definitely. Well, but I'd like to know get some cliff notes on like what's in it. Did they read it? To me it seems like.
But to assume that they didn't is the same thing that you were saying earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The only thing I'm saying is this: the evidence shows, because of the types of articles that they pushed through, The evidence shows that they are pushing an agenda.
Okay. Here's some just for gender that I found, all right? Gender bias in sports media. A critical analysis of Twitter content in the National Football League's Carolina Panthers. Shit like that.
That's in the grievance section.
Gender differences in European volunteer rates. Feminist frontier on trans and feminism. Yeah, it's very cut and dry, but there's legitimate subjects, diverse pedagogical practices, and gendered subjectivities in high school classrooms. Shit like that. That's what you get, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's on the level where people that are in the top of these fields that are reviewing these papers know what the fuck all this shit means when you put together a title, right? There's a certain structure you put together for the title for that, for what is structured or outlined in the paper, right? We have to assume that
I don't have to assume anything, and I never will.
No, we have to. We honestly have to assume that if it's being submitted for review, it is being reviewed. And
no.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because listen, stop. I'll tell you why. Because it gets stop. I'm going to tell you why.
Weren't reviewed.
I'll tell you why.
I'm not going to assume all of them were reviewed.
You have to, because they're not just reviewed by one person. They're reviewed by we're talking about 7, 8, 9 months. Reviewed by 4, 5, 6 different levels, right? You're not going to skip 6 levels and just say, yeah, this is good. Look at the title.
I'm not saying you're skipping 6 different levels. I'm saying
so then you're agreeing that it got read.
Sorry?
Then you're agreeing that it got read then, right?
Did that come out of my mouth?
Well, you just said
no,
it
that
didn't
came out of your mouth. I know what I said.
You just said it didn't skip 6 levels. These were accepted in public, so obviously it had to have been read.
If I said something and you asked me if that's what I said and those words didn't come out my mouth,
let's break it down.
I'm still talking. I don't understand.
Let's break it down. No, I'm going to tell you. Okay, go ahead. Tell me what you were going to say, and then I'll break it down for you.
I'm done talking.
Okay. I told you it goes through 6, 7 different levels, right? Different reviews. Right? You said you don't have to assume that it got read because your initial point before was, let's say these weren't they couldn't have even read these things.
That
right?
was maybe the middle 3 seconds of the point I was trying to make. Yeah.
Okay. What I'm saying to you is there's 6 or 7 different levels that these things have to be reviewed on. Not only being passed back and forth, but there's notes and things that come back from the reviewers, right? Saying you have to change this or you have to change this, right? Maybe we need some more data on this. So they've been read on many different levels, right? So we have to assume that they've been read, right? That's what I'm getting at.
I know exactly what you're getting at. It's really easy to get what you're getting at when it always interrupts my point.
What was your point?
I'm not even going to go at it because now my point is moot.
Okay.
It's pointless.
Okay, perfect.
For me to say my point.
Perfect.
Point is pointless. Interesting.
Right.
My point is I will never assume anything.
Okay. So then how are we supposed to treat this, son? If we're not to assume that, or if you're not going to assume that, how are we supposed to treat this? I'm just wondering.
We're going to treat it with the facts it was given.
Right.
I'm going to say it's the whole angle. There's multiple different angles to it.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they were read.
Okay.
I'm not saying all of them were just passed all the way to the top.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure if there's 6 different levels, some of them went from level 3 to level 5, and level 4 said, well, they've always been good in the past. I'm gonna skip this one. Mm-hmm. Happens all the fucking time.
Does it?
People get lazy. Yes, people get lazy. People trust the person before them.
How can you assume that and assume they weren't written though, or they weren't written though?
I'm not assuming anything. I'm saying the different angles.
Okay, then how?
I'm sure this happened. I'm sure that happened. I just agree with you. Some of them were read. Some of them may not have been. Every different angle that was in aspect of it. If I look at every angle and I accept that could have happened, I'm not assuming anything. I'm not going to assume. An assumption is your definite belief on something.
Okay, you're getting stuck on it. You're being stuck on the word assume.
I'm not stuck on anything.
What I'm trying to say is if you are to believe what you have said, then what you're saying is that people aren't doing their jobs at certain points of how it was reviewed. Correct?
Yeah, in some of these cases, yeah. And I do believe some of these cases it went through the full steps, and their job was to understand. And nobody was. This is the one thing that you never have to assume. In all these ones that were published, nobody did their fucking job.
Nobody did their fucking job, except the ones that were rejected. The ones that were rejected, the people did their job.
People did their job. Nobody did their job, right? If you read it and if you're reading something to review it and get it published,
right?
You have to cite some sort of references.
Right, they do.
You have to, and if there's references in that paper, you have to verify those references. If you're reading through anything to have it published, you have to read through it objectionally, correct?
Objectively
or objectionally?
No, and that's the whole point of this.
That's what they're doing it. So I think some parts were skipped, some parts weren't, and some people just read it with that thinking of, so I'm not saying there wasn't an agenda. I'm just saying that, yes, agendas were pushed. Yes, people didn't do their jobs. Yes, people dialed it the fuck in. This whole fucking failure of what was achieved is on too many levels for us to be like, they're pushing the agenda, they read them all, they went through. This shit failed on multiple fucking levels.
I think to assume that they weren't read is also the same as to assume that they were read.
Right. We're not arguing that.
But the evidence kind of points to the fact that they may have not been read because of the fact that stupidity was published.
I'm going to rebut you on this.
But also the fact that they have a track record of publishing stuff that is legit kind of thing, right? So it's kind of like to assume either way without proper evidence, without having sat down beside them and watched them review it and read everything, is kind of assumption on its own.
I think the whole point to this is that in any level or any aspect of where we are in academia, there is, and even in society, there's a major overcorrection happening to what has been flawed society in the past. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but if excuse me, for feminists to be equal to males as they are or as they were 5-10 years ago.
You're talking feminists or females?
Feminist females.
Feminist females. Okay.
Feminist females, whatever. When feminists are pushing the agenda, the females are not equal to men, right? However, they want to push past that and try to make women above men, right? That's an overcorrection.
Yes, the pendulum has swung too far.
So I think what academia is getting at is that they're trying to push this agenda of getting to equality for everybody, but they're overcorrecting and letting a bunch of things slide through that may or may not be the truth.
Yes. Yeah, and you know what? It goes back to, I think we had talked about this last week. And I see this written all over this exposure here. That interview I saw with that ex-KGB agent, right? Yuri, what's his face?
Yeah.
And the name of it, you owe it to yourselves.
Go back to last week and listen,
Yeah, to check out that YouTube video. I think it's called How to Destabilize a Nation or something.
Yeah.
Right? Where the bottom line was that the KGB actually went in and infiltrated academia, started purposely teaching a bunch of nonsense to students to demoralize them. Right? And once the population is demoralized, they will not believe facts that are presented to them, even if it is blatant, because they are so demoralized.
Which is the point that Will's at.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly where I wanted this conversation to go. I don't really want to focus on these studies anymore. What I really wanted to get to is what lies beneath all of this and what the meaning to all this was, right? And that is the systematic downgrading of society through studies that are very
blatantly stupid.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Right? That are being accepted as fact when in actuality they're works of fiction. Made up in somebody's mind because that's their feelings on something instead of actually following data and following the science, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I know people will probably hear this and go, well, no, you're crazy, or I disagree with you, or whatever. But the fact of the matter is the agenda that they're pushing is everywhere. It's on TV, it's on the news, and it's in these studies. And it's backed by these so-called studies. The whole point of all of this is to have a multi-layered defense system against objective reality and objective morality. Right? And it sounds conspiratorial, but just give it 5 minutes of thought. Right? I remember challenging you the other day, Parnel, off air, of course, with a specific challenge. I won't go into the specifics. That is part of what I was talking about. Right?
Yeah.
So let me give it to you this way. Right? The television says that so you look at the news, and the newsman says that toxic masculinity is out of control, right? Then you look at that stupid Gillette ad that suggests that toxic masculinity is out of control, right? Objectively, you can see it is not, right? But then you go, is toxic masculinity out of control? Let me see if I can find a paper on this. And you refer to one of these papers on that, and it confirms your that right? So it's a multi-leveled agenda.
Yeah,
where's the because we got the site saying that toxic masculinity is out of control. Where's objective reality? Just tell me the objective reality where it's not.
No, you tell me the objective reality where it is.
Okay, no, that's not an answer to a question. You gave me the, listening to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said objective reality will show you that it's not.
It is not.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. What I'm saying is, you gave us the examples of being told that it is, and then you said objective reality says that it's not, and then you went back into the no, stop right where you said objective reality where it's not, and give us and keep the same energy. Keep the same energy. Tell us where the objective reality where it's not.
Let's use toxic masculinity as an example, right? Toxic masculinity will say that men are misogynistic, they're bullies, they downpress women, and also there is a glass ceiling that women cannot achieve, right?
Well, no, the misogynistic and da exists, and that's the definition of toxic masculinity. We can't deny that. I'm talking about, you said that saying that toxic masculinity is out of control. We're being told that it's out of control. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. That's not part of the podcast. Okay. Then you said objective reality will tell you that it's not. So we're not going to go into the definitions of what people objectively think toxic masculinity is. I want to know the objective reality that is not out of control.
Okay, when is the last time you saw a man or a woman being beaten en masse by their husbands or boyfriends?
Shit, my place so last
that's
night.
So okay, so that
wrong type of beating,
right? Okay,
right.
Okay.
When is the last time you were out in public and saw just some strange man walk past a girl and pinch her ass and be like, "Oh, sorry, darling," ha ha ha, right? As a matter of fact, you see the opposite. Right, this is what I'm talking about, objective reality. You see men holding doors for women, being chivalrous, right? And then absolutely being shot down for doing so.
I see both, to tell you the truth. I see both.
But the problem is this.
One is chivalry.
Yeah,
the other one is
okay, but yeah, this
this
is the thing. If we're talking about toxic masculinity in particular, right? Toxic masculinity will tell you that men are brutish cavemen, right?
That's a part of it, I guess so, yeah.
Okay, do you see that in general?
Men being brutish cavemen?
Yes.
No, I see...
Therefore, objective reality would say that toxic masculinity in general is not a thing.
No, objective reality would tell me that men are brutish cavemen. I think toxic masculinity, it exists. It's not out of fucking control.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
It's not out of control.
Exactly my point.
It's not out of control. I know, and you know what? We go back to my point. I wasn't agreeing or disagreeing. I'm saying if you're gonna have the same energy and showing us examples of one thing, don't say, well, objective reality, and then go to the next one. Use the same energy. Tell us examples of the reality.
I agree with that.
Then both toxic masculinity out of control and the Gillette ad doesn't show a man being brutal as a caveman, and the Gillette ad wasn't saying wasn't saying toxic masculinity is out of control or forcing it down our fucking throats. It was just basically telling us to do better. And even if we're not going out of control and not doing better, it's just saying be a better person. However anybody wants to fucking take that, however they fucking want to take it, I don't give a fuck. It's just saying be the better person. It's not saying don't beat women. It's just saying set an example. And if we're already doing that, then cool. Continue to use our razors. If you're not doing that, then cool. If you have a problem with us saying be better, then whatever. Dudes need to be better and women need to be better. At the end of the day, dudes are just the focal point right now. But my whole point is like this. Keep the same energy. I don't want to hear examples of one thing and then
no, and I wouldn't do that. But this is the thing.
Keep the same energy.
This is the thing. Number one, for the sake of the listener, I will not go into too many specific details because we'd be here all night. But number two,
we have all night.
No, we don't. But number two, and I will use your own terminology against you. You're not looking at the levels here. You're absolutely not looking at the levels here.
I'm just looking at what the specifics.
Because there's levels to these things.
There's levels to to what though?
Oh my gosh.
Is it levels to these things? We're talking about there's levels to toxic masculinity or levels to the objective,
Both.
the other side?
Both,
okay.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
There's
right?
definitely levels to it.
Right? So, what I like to do is deal in generalizations. Right? Mm-hmm. And there's a purpose for dealing in generalizations. You don't figure things out if you look at every specific thing that that proves the exception that proves the rule.
I'm not
right?
saying look at everything.
So,
I'm just saying you gave examples for one. Give at least one example for the other and keep it moving. That's all I'm saying. Like we had the Gillette commercial. Give an example. Objective reality. Da da da. What if someone's sitting there and says I can't? What if someone's listening to us and say I can't recognize the objective reality because there's so much other shit hitting me in my face and I feel like I'm fucking a toxic male and da da da. And you're just like there's objective reality in your face and dude's sitting there listening like well what is it? Where is it? Like one example or something that helps that. I'm not even saying for me. I don't give a fuck. Toxic masculinity or not. On any side of that fucking fence, that fence isn't even built on my property. I don't give a fuck.
I'm afraid you've lost me.
Okay. Your point was
no, because really and truly, I think the example I gave and the point I was trying to make was very cut and dry. And I'm gonna ask Parnel and Mike, did you guys understand what I was trying to get at?
No, I did. And I think what Will's trying to get at. I think what Will is just trying to get at is if you're going to say there is objective reality and there's going to be toxic masculinity, you use the toxic masculinity. You have to give an example of the toxic masculinity, as then give an example of the opposite as well.
I'm saying, yeah, why? Because not everybody's on our level. People are listening for information. People are listening to us for help. People listen to us for direction. People listen to us to get wool taken over their eyes. You can't just sit there and be like, you're being duped, take the wool off your eyes. And someone's sitting there like, okay, so where the fuck is the wool? You understand what I'm saying? People sometimes need to be led. Sometimes you can't just tell a horse in the desert there's water that way. You need the point.
I think going back to the whole assumption thing, John might have kind of assumed that the other side was assumed.
Yeah, we have intelligent listeners as well, right? I understand that. I think you're just what Will is saying is our listeners are dumb, and what you were trying to do is explain their listeners are intelligent.
I'm just saying.
No, you should say. I'm playing. No, I'm just saying. I agree with you, dog.
All I'm saying is like agree or disagree. I'm just saying we have to keep the same energy on both sides of the argument.
I agree.
Or we're going to fall into the same pit that we're trying to tell people.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. Right, and that's that's just something has been fallen by the wayside on this podcast here. Because we assume that people are. Can follow these things as we talk about them. Sometimes following a conversation while listening to it is a little difficult. I want to get back to reading the titles of these things. I just simply
following a conversation while listening to it is now this motherfucker patronizing.
Listen,
now this motherfucker patronizing.
No.
Did you really just say following a conversation while listening to it is difficult?
What I meant by that.
I just said, dog. Like fuck what I just said. At the end of the day, look, objective reality. Y'all missing
what I meant by that. What I meant by that is I know by listening to a podcast on my stereo, sometimes I cannot follow it completely as much.
So fuck it. Just tell
I'm
me
on your side.
There's no sides. This isn't a side thing. What are we on this?
No.
We're on the same fucking team.
That's
How are we on different sides?
That's what I just said. I'm on your side.
Read me the fucking read the fucking titles of
Will,
these joints out, man.
I think you're forgetting one word. You haven't called him a nigger yet.
No. Read the title to these joints, man. Read the title to these joints. Read the title to these joints.
I got a can in my hand.
So I'm going to give you background to this next title. This is actually, let me give you the title first, and I'm going to tell you exactly where it came from after that. Our struggle is my struggle. Solidarity, feminism as an intersectional reply to neoliberal and choice feminism. That title is strictly from Mein Kampf. They took chapter 13 and rewrote Mein Kampf and submitted it as a paper. They replaced Jew with men. With the word men.
Wow.
I like it.
And it was, let me tell you something, it was accepted and on its way to being published.
How did they not recognize that it was Mein Kampf?
I've never read it.
Yeah, but
I can't read German.
But, I mean...
You can get a translation of it.
I mean, something as recognized as that to literary critics should have been recognized.
Right. So I think what all of this portrays is that we have the wrong people in the wrong positions in academia.
I don't necessarily think that they're the wrong people. I just think that...
Or they don't understand.
I think that they're capable of human error just as much as everybody else is.
This much?
Hey.
I mean, listen, I know
there's levels to this shit. A lot of people fucked up. A lot of people said someone probably read it.
Mein Kampf.
Someone probably read it and was like, "Well, yeah, I feel the same way." They're not pass. What do I need to change? You forgot to change Jew in stanza 6 to man. I'm just helping you out, fam. I'm just helping you out. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, there's levels to this shit. Like, I really find it hard to believe that it's all just one. Either the agenda or it's all someone fucked up. I feel
okay. All right.
You know what I'm saying? When the whole system goes down, it's rarely someone just pulls a plug. There's a lot of fucking cogs and whistles and bells that just went fuck you, fuck you, fuck.
And I think that's the main overture here, right? Is there's this right now the academia is in the place of falling down, and it's been like this. They've been this way for 10, 15 years now. We have to recognize how it's falling apart.
And in my opinion, the agenda of the whole hoax is not necessarily like the feminism stuff or the whatever, all that kind of stuff. The agenda of the whole thing was to basically throw a middle finger to the people that claim that they are qualified critics of stuff, of that kind of shit, right?
I bet you it was two dudes in a fucking pub. One dude went to college, the other dude didn't.
Yeah.
And the dude in college just kept hitting them with fucking papers. And he's like, you know what? Watch. 6 months later, Mein Kampf has been submitted. And they're sitting in the same pub. It's like, so, like my new paper? It's supposed to be published. And dude's sitting there like, fuck. I just spent $50,000 on 2 semesters. Yeah. And you over here getting shit submitted overnight. But think about it this way. So let's say, let's go to one level. Let's say it's all an agenda. It's all red. They're all pushing an agenda. Mm-hmm. Let's focus on the feminists, because that seems to be a focus one. I have no idea what the other ones are.
The one I really want to focus on is fat bodybuilding and the whole because that one was crazy. That one was accepted and published, and what they did is they it was on the backbone of saying all people that are big, that are fat, that are overweight are involved in a form of bodybuilding, and it's healthy for you. There is no. I want to prove a point real quick.
Okay, but whose agendas would this be to
again,
be published?
I don't think
people.
McDonald's.
Okay,
so
no,
fat
people. Listen.
Fat people.
There's a fat person agenda.
Yeah,
along the same as feminists.
You know what? Yes, a million%. You know, hold on. You know why? Because there's fat people that say you're allowed to say fat, but you cannot say obese, because obese is a medical term, and that makes it derogatory to the person. So if your doctor
Who says this?
These are there's actual
Don't
groups.
say papers.
No, I said groups.
They're activists.
They're actually fat activists that say fat shaming. That's where this whole fat shaming thing came from, right? Okay,
but that whole
fat is healthy.
No, the
fat is healthy.
The fat shame. Okay, so I understand that fat shame didn't really come from the activists, but it came from sensitive people,
right?
But the activism came from whatever. But the whole thing is like this. I'm not talking about these activists. I'm not talking about people that say. I'm talking about the people who. None of those people, activists, are in a position to publish papers or approve published papers. I'm saying, what's the agenda for the approved published paper people?
Say that one more time.
The approved published paper people. The paper, the approval for papers to be published.
Well, here's the thing. Anybody can legally write a paper for review.
Right, but they get reviewed by the grievance, right?
No, they get reviewed by whatever. I guess, yeah.
Academic
board.
Whatever
academic board.
So
that would be the Grievance Studies.
Fat nigga. There it is. There's no fat nigga academic board.
Yeah,
so
there kind of is.
Okay, so my question then, instead of just saying there is, what is the fat nigga academic board?
I'm gonna Google fat nigga academic board and see what comes
up.
So
my whole thing, okay, so my point is like this. So that's why I wanted to focus on the feminists, because we know there's a board of.
There are organizations,
and a lot of them do have pull and da, right? So I'm saying it's so easier to focus on that one because I don't know the fat nigga academic board, but. Let's say there is
there's actually something called Fat Studies, by the way. That's the board that reviews them.
No, the Fat Studies, or is that a study on obesity?
Is that the study of the fat cells, or is that the study of fat?
Read what Fat Studies is. I don't think there's a board for publishing papers that benefit overweight people called Fat Studies. Is it PHAT?
No, there is. Yeah.
Is it called PHAT? No. I think there's like a class you could take to study fat, but okay, so that's not the point. That's not my point. We're like getting off what the fucking point is. Whatever it is, let's say the feminists, and then
Durham University. Fuck you, Durham.
There's a whole. Let's say they are pushing these papers, like the dog park one, and all these feminist papers for that one specific agenda, right? And let's say they reach that end game. Their end game would be the total emasculation of men. Rah, right? So, do you think? If their end game gets reached, there's not going to be.
I like this little smirk on your face.
There's not going to be papers that aren't published anymore. There's going to be more papers with that agenda in them, right? And if that end game gets reached, the feminists won, right?
We would like to believe so, but they just keep moving the goalpost.
Right. Well, no, but I mean the end game. They can't. I'm saying the ultimate end game.
They don't have an end game.
Okay. Hypothetically speaking, then
you're
for fuck's
assuming.
Sakes.
I'm fucking at you.
The end game. They reach the end game. They have total influence, total control over everything. Right. That's their end game.
Right.
So that means all the papers getting published would be under their approval, right? If you publish a paper, it gets through, it's pushing their agenda, the end game. That's their end game, to have control. So a majority of the stuff we read now will be of the feminist agenda because they're in quote unquote control. That's their end game. That's the end game of it.
I see what you're saying, but I think there's going to be a level to it, just like you said, right? I know what you're saying. I get it. Yes. In your hypothetical, yes.
Hypothetically, yes. If that was the end game, that's what they get to. So that would be the perfect example of history being written by the victors. You see what I'm saying? So this is the only reason why I could think that there would be an agenda. History books, yeah. That there would be an agenda between these because they want to change, like Kobo said, our view of reality and our perception of history. Now, if our history is not being written by the people, by actual facts, then that means our history is wrong. And that's what they're trying to teach us, our history is wrong. And they're already starting with that shit. By words, terms, ways we're feeling, things that are natural in the past are no longer natural now. So these papers being written, as far as they're taken as a farce, they're taken as a joke and everything like that, but they could be exposing a larger underbelly of what exactly is going on.
Can I interject?
Of course.
I exactly see what you're saying. And that's actually, you've really and truly gotten to even a deeper level to the point I was trying to make earlier than I had gotten to. So respect.
That's what I'm thinking. Because I'm joking and shit like that, but you taking everything that's happening, and it's like you're cutting off like the whole bunch of sheep overrun your farm. It's like, oh, they're cute and cuddly sheep, and next thing you know, the sheep just start totally taking off some wolf clothing.
That was the point you just made was the complete and absolute complete point where I wanted to get to on this podcast.
I have a large underbelly.
And
it's called
I'm trying to skip right past it.
We call it his U-boat.
His U-boat. And that's the point to it, right? I wanted to address how in society we can be so blatantly wrong in academia and let this shit slide through.
We don't, because you don't know you're wrong if you don't know that you're wrong.
Yeah, but you don't even have to look to academia to see that kind of shit fall through. You look at fucking the news, you look at social media, all that shit is sliding through, and the mass people are believing that shit.
Sheep.
Exactly.
They don't even know that
Which goes back to Kobo's point about think for yourself. You have to just look at that stuff and go, that is so ridiculous. Regardless of the title and regardless of how many big words are in the title, you got to look at it yourself and go, and at the very least question it and think to yourself and do the research kind of thing. But most people won't even question it, won't even get to that point of questioning it, let alone looking up the details behind it.
And if they're being taught this in school, they don't even know to question it.
Right.
Right. Especially if you're in college now. 19, 20 years old, you came up under this umbrella. We didn't come up under this umbrella. We came from a house, walked outside where it was sunny, all of a sudden it started raining, there's a dude holding an umbrella, and when you get under the umbrella, you're like, it smells kind of funny under here. So you have something to compare it to. If you don't have something to compare the nonsense to, you don't think it's nonsense. But then when you look at us, we're slowly becoming the minority, we look like we're the crazy ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were born in Trinidad. I don't think there is minorities in Trinidad, y'all. Not one person looks like the other person. Everybody in Trinidad look different.
There's this,
even twins.
There's this underlying.
It's a majority of minorities.
There's this seedy underlining of society right now that's coming to fruition, where it's almost like the oppression Olympics.
Yes.
It's who can be oppressed more and who can be more offended, and what can we get away with. You know, and it's to the point where you have if a minority is offended, Then another minority is, well, black people are oppressed. Okay, well, Indian people are oppressed too, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm more oppressed than you are, so it makes it harder for me, right? So everybody's going. These guys are all fucking cheersing, and I'm trying to fucking say some shit. I can't even concentrate.
We're listening. You gotta get that.
I have a large underbelly.
And it's stop it. You know, and it gets to the point of who can be the most oppressed.
Yes. Yeah. So
That's
if
what
you're
it's getting to.
If you're a gay, lesbian, transsexual, black cripple,
Right. You
then
have all the
you've
power.
won.
Yeah, you have all the power.
But think
You've
about
won.
it this way. Think about it this way now. Who would be the most oppressed? Now, it's gotten to the point where now, and you can see it, people are either fighting to be oppressed or be a
Yes.
part of that, don't even know they're doing it, getting offended, don't know why they're offended, but they legitimately feel offended for reasons they don't know. Even on our side, I get offended against the offense when I shouldn't be offended, and I'm like, I'm offended, but I'm not offended. I don't know why I'm offended. I just feel like I should be offended. And so let's say you have a gay dude, and he's gone for years saying, oh, I'm gay, no one cares, who cares, I'm gay, whatever. He doesn't need to announce to the world and da-da-da. But he has agenda thrown at him. So now he's taking on these different causes that he doesn't even know if he feels the same way, but he's like-minded with the other people, so he has to. He has media.
Yeah, he falls into the group.
Right?
I get it.
He has the media hitting him. He has social media hitting him. And his news, the algorithms, everything like that. This is the reason why I got off Facebook, because I was starting to feel for things that I legitimately 3 days before had no emotional reaction to.
Yeah.
And then
like,
after 3
what's
days
happening
of being
in Crimea, that's terrible.
And after 3 days of being bombarded by it, I'm like, I saw something that said pray for Indonesia or something like that.
You always there.
Yeah, somewhere. That's why they were praying for it. They're like, oh shit, the Mikey Mike attack's back.
Right?
But then I'm like, you didn't pray
Here
for
comes
Kenya. And I got mad because they weren't praying for Kenya. And then I'm like, what the fuck is praying for anything on Facebook going to do?
Exactly.
It's not like they donate $5 for each pray for this thing you post up.
See-
So people now are people are so brainwashed, they don't know that they're sheep. We can't fault them for being sheep because they were born from a sheep's pussy.
I get it.
You're born into a farm. You don't know that there's anything outside of that farm. But the horse that was found wild and got brought to the farm knows there's something else. We're wild horses that are sitting in the farm.
See,
But we're giving birth to other horses in the safety of this farm, but they don't know that this safety is a detriment to who they are. Now these horses are walking around looking like ponies.
I like the
Yeah.
analogy, but I think
Yeah.
it's more like we are the wild horses giving birth in the wild, but our offspring are being broken.
No, because it's not like that.
Yeah.
Because no, we've been broken. You know why we've been broken?
Because
we're
we've
the
been brought
ones
to the
that
farm.
We went to the farm. We're the ones that went to the farm. We're the ones that said, "Hey, we should put Facebook in our fridges." They didn't say that. We're the ones that said, "Hey, we should have social media linking everything." So when you cancel your Facebook, it was everything that you signed into using Facebook, you're fucked now. We're the ones that said we should be able to make music off of the equipment we have in this room. We're doing a podcast for 1 million people off the effort of 3. We did that.
4.
Comfort. Comfort.
It's so weird having him here.
Comfort, luxury, all that stuff. We were in the wild, running around 90 to 2000s, running around wild, crazy. And then we saw a comfortable farm and like, oh, let's go here. Then we put our kids in there and da-da-da. We sacrificed, and even that farm, when we were wild, we were still in a bigger farm, but didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The levels to the shit.
Right, but
and then your point, I do like your point about everybody kind of these days is just looking for their own sort of foothold.
Yeah.
And they're looking for something to be offended by and feel oppressed by, because I feel oppressed as an intelligent person. Mm-hmm. But dummies.
Very true, yeah.
you
very true.
have no idea how hard it is to walk around this world knowing you have a higher IQ than 99% of the people out there. It's ridiculous.
And really,
and I'm not
truly.
talking about myself. Well, I am, but I'm not in this situation.
But
I don't mean to brag because I'm modest.
It's.
But no, I mean totally. And these days, everybody is in that farm, in their own little farm, trying to fucking just
Right.
See whose farm is oppressing them the
Well,
most.
it's exactly. Who's the most offended?
Objective
Well, I ain't got no-
reality.
hey, well, I ain't got no corn.
How about you just
Barley
fucking-
lives matter too.
Yeah. How about
Right?
you-
Objective reality has turned to subjective dreamland.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well put.
It's. I don't know how else to say it.
I've been saying that the
See,
whole
that-
time.
that
Maybe not that
reminds-
way, but
That reminds me of
Yeah.
like communism.
But he's not gonna brag because he's modest.
yes. But I'm not gonna brag because I'm modest.
Well, that reminds me of the whole ideology of communism. Like, it's so funny that communism is has such a bad conception, because before Marx or anything like that, at its root, communism is just sharing,
I think communism works on the individual level,
and it doesn't work
like with yourself.
Yeah,
yeah, or
you
or
can, like,
family
you could be a
unit,
co-
like,
you're a
I'm gonna
co-
break this bread.
Yep. Put it
but
put it in your
technically,
pocket.
if you look at its roots and its definitions, communism is just sharing.
Yeah, and we actually talked about that on the podcast. In
Yeah.
a family environment, communism works.
Yeah, it's
in a city environment, it doesn't.
no, because everybody's out for themselves.
Yeah.
Everybody's in their own farm.
And
no
that's the
personal-
problem with communism is it ignores actual human nature.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I want more. I want Jordans. Right? You telling me now because we're communists I can't have Jordans? No. Or maybe we should all have Jordans.
Right, we all have a
whatever.
level of greed to us, right?
We're all gonna have New Balance.
No, I don't like New Balance.
The New Balance walking shoes that the old people in the malls wear.
Get out.
At 950.
Get out.
You can get the white ones with
Get
the blue,
out.
like the 18 blue stripes down
Oh
the
yeah,
side.
man.
promise
Thick,
you-
thick soles.
The thick soles, and it's got the cloth toe, just the toe,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
little
oh,
thing
yeah.
on the toe with the
Yep. Absolutely,
Um,
man.
New Balance P. That's your new, AKA New Balance P.
No, it's not gonna happen. Listen, I don't know where else to go with this. We could literally go for another hour and a half on this. I don't think we should. I think we should leave it there and let people decide what they want to decide on. Let's close this out. But before we do, let's get our sponsors in here one more time, Mr. Hayes.
Today's episode was brought to you by Lex. That's Lex on 17th Ave, Southwest Calgary, and Lex in Chinook Mall for all your apparel needs. I mean, they got Supreme. They got what else they got? They got
They got Bape, Supreme,
Supreme
26
Bape,
Dover,
26 Dover,
Nike,
Bape,
Jordan brand, Adidas, yeah,
Adidas,
Yeezys.
the Adidas, Jordan, Yeezys, the throwback, the retros, the new shit, the shit that's hard to get. All that extra shit. Yo, if you want to look good, if you want to look fresh, you know what I'm saying? New school year coming up soon. Just got back from Christmas. Valentine's Day, get your girl some stuff. Hit up Lex on 17th or Chinook Mall. And stay fresh, ladies and gentlemen.
I like that.
I like that. Will Hayes, give me your closings on this topic of Grievance Studies hoax. Where are we going? How does this affect us? All that fun
I think
stuff.
the Grievance Study hoax specifically opened up a lot of levels. Don't trust anything. Even if now, like, it seems like, yo, even if you don't trust something and you go and do research, that research may be tainted.
Yeah, Mikey, what do you think, man? How do you think this is going to affect us in the future?
I think it'll just open up people's eyes, like Will said. To be honest, I'd rather enjoy the method that they took in order to. It's like infiltrating the system. It's like hackers hacking a system in order to get a job to provide security. To me, it's right.
There was a movie Hackers.
Yeah.
Was it Hackers? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They did that.
But that whole movie was bullshit.
Yeah, it was garbage.
Huge trash. How do you hack on Matrix screens all the time?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Well, that's kind of what you can do.
Not one USB.
DOS.
That was DOS, yeah, but
Yeah, but I think that people should at least kind of pay attention to that kind of thing, and hopefully it'll open people's eyes up, which I doubt it will. And I have a large underbelly.
That's true. John Vex, I know you can get deep into this, and you have a lot of things to say. I want to hear your full disclosure.
Full disclosure, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think this Grievance Study hoax, whatever you want to call it, definitely exposes rot, but I think the rot goes a lot deeper into the establishment than people realize. And I know it sounds conspiratorial, but I think it definitely goes deeper than what people think. So whether this, like some people believe that this will open up a can of worms or open people's eyes to what is going on, I don't think it will. I don't think this will have any effect on what's going on. And I'm being very pessimistic here, but that's how I see it. I think that those who have eyes will see it. right? But there are too many people that are being willfully ignorant to what is going on. So even this study will not do anything for them, right? Because they want to believe that the system is perfect, because they believe in the agenda that the system is pushing. Right. That's my 2 cents.
No, I like
this
that.
happened in 2006, right?
2018.
Last year.
The Grievance hoax?
Yeah.
2018.
Last year.
2018.
Thank you.
2018.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Wait, how many is that?
It's 20 minus 2.
After
2018. Listen, to close this out, people have been bit hook, line, and sinker into microaggressions, trigger warnings, safe spaces, diversity issues. There's no questioning it, and it's ridiculously uncomfortable knowing people can't or won't ask questions due to the fear of repercussions. They're constantly jockeying for competitive victimhood. They're grievance jockeying, and they're doing the oppressive Olympics, like I said earlier. And it's to the point where academics is
not only just an urban brand anymore.
Yeah. Academics.
It's also a dumbass DJ.
Academics has stalled.
He's not really a DJ.
Shots fired.
Yes, B, go ahead. Sorry.
Academics has stalled or devolved. Let's say regressed, and devolved to the point of you can't even trust a study anymore because you cannot trust the people that are reviewing the studies. You cannot trust the process anymore. So where do we go from here? I'm not sure. But what I do know is that you have to research every topic you want to know about. You can't keep your hand in the sand. You have to open your eyes, take the wool off your eyes, like Will Hayes said, and you have to be able to understand facts and read these studies yourself. I keep saying it. I'm probably the only one here that has read any one of these studies. And is able to understand it. It's if we can't. If I'm saying you guys haven't read it, so I know. If you're not able to read a study.
Wait, are you talking about the false ones? You're the only one that can understand the false ones.
Yeah, we're not supposed to. But being have you today in society, it's very strange how little people can actually read an academic study or a scientific paper because it scares them. Just learn how to read it. It's simple. Do your own research. I know Google can give you any kind of, what do they call it?
Places to research?
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Or confirmation bias.
Echo chamber.
Flux capacitor.
And with that, we out this motherfucker.